Hare Krishna. So today we will read Śrīla Prabhupāda-līlāmṛta. As Sudama Prabhu is currently in India, so till the time he is back, we will have the reading of Nectarian Śrīla Prabhupāda-līlāmṛta. So I'll share my screen. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददति स्वापदान्तिकम्। जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Srila Prabhupada-līlāmṛta, Volume 2, Chapter 56, Return to America. San Francisco, December 14th, 1967. As soon as Srila Prabhupada came into view, many devotees began to cry out or shed tears. He looked much healthier, tanned from the sun. Spiritedly, he waved and smiled. That smile made them still more eager, and they could hardly contain themselves while Prabhupada patiently waited for customs official to inspect his bags. When Prabhupada had left America, his disciples had been uncertain whether they would ever see him again. He had suffered a paralyzing stroke in New York and had gone back to India to recuperate. If he were going to die, he had said the best place in the world was Vrindavan. But soon in his letters from India came news of his returning strength. Krishna had saved him. Now he was back. They needed him. If they were to represent him and spread Krishna consciousness, then they needed more association with Krishna's pure devotee. Jayananda drove him from the airport in an old limousine decorated with flowers. Prabhupada would be staying in an apartment in the Brahmachari's house on the Willard Street, about 2 blocks from the storefront temple on the Frederick Street. As he approached the door of his apartment, he saw the picture of Lord Vishnu taped to the inside of the glass facing him. Although the devotees had debated about the picture because Lord Vishnu had not been colored blue, Prabhupada joined his palms together in the pranama gesture and slightly bowing his head passed Lord Vishnu and entered the house. The devotees gathered excitedly in Prabhupada's room. One of them had read about a Vaishnava ceremony of washing the feet of the spiritual master, so they had prepared a pitcher of water and a bowl. Prabhupada permitted it, and in few seconds it was done. Then he sat facing a crowded room of intimate devotees. Taking his kartals and playing them softly and sweetly, he led a Hare Krishna Kirtan. It was no ordinary thing how Prabhupada sang and how they listened and chanted in response with fastened, ecstatic attention, but it was brief. Afterwards, he began to speak of Krishna. He said that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and everyone's best friend. Even a good friendship in this world is a small indication of Krishna's friendship because everything is coming from Krishna. If you feel good on a nice spring day, that is an indication of Krishna. The smell of an aromatic flower, that is Krishna. Whatever is good in this world is Krishna. And all that is bad comes from forgetfulness of Krishna. Prabhupada spoke with a kind, gentle, and humble attitude. He had brought back some gifts. For the ladies, he had saris. He held up the thin cotton cloths one at a time, called the name of each initiated girl disciple, and handed her a sari. One sari was white with a red and a black design, others were white with single color borders. In a small saffron cloth, Prabhupada had 3 silken garlands. He unwrapped them, saying, These can be tied around necks of Lord Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balrama. Previous to this, the deities had received no dresses or decorations. Mukunda and Shyamsundara came forward to show Prabhupada their first American made kartals. Months ago, Prabhupada had suggested that they might make kartals in America, and the men had analyzed the metals in the Indian kartals, gathered the ingredients from scrapyards, taken them to a foundry, and had them molded into a finished product. Prabhupada took the first pair of American kartals in his hand, hit them together a few times, and pronounced, "Not so great." Again, he took up his own beautifully polished brass kartals from India. Striking them together once, he let them ring for a long time. "This is great," he said. Then, looking around the room, Prabhupada engaged in friendly little exchanges with his disciples. Seeing Leelavati sitting in a corner and her baby daughter Subhadra, Prabhupada said, "Your daughter looks just like Subhadra." Leelavati sighed gratefully to hear it. "Govinda Dasi," Prabhupada said, "I'm always thinking of your paintings." Prabhupada asked whether all the devotees were chanting their prescribed 16 rounds daily. Almost everyone replied, "Yes, Swamiji." One new devotee, however, an English girl whose face turned bright red, began to stammer in a faltering voice, "I chant," she said. "I chant," and then suddenly blurting out like a little girl about to cry. "Sometimes I chant more than 16 rounds a day." Her voice cracked, and she seemed on the brink of tears. But the devotees and Prabhupada could not help from laughing. In Prabhupada's presence, it seemed all jovial. Uddhava Dasa came into the room and announced, "We have some prasadam for you, Swamiji. Would you like to take now?" "What?" asked Prabhupada. "A little rice." The devotees began to laugh, thinking of the elaborate feast they had prepared for Prabhupada. Prabhupada had one more thing to show them in his bag. It was a coconut grater commonly used in Bengali households. Prabhupada gave it to Yamuna, who began to grate a coconut while the devotees watched. Surrounded by his devotees, Prabhupada then went to the kitchen and prepared coconut laddus made from white coconut, pulp, butter, sugar, black pepper, cardamom, and camphor flavor. He rolled them into balls, ate one himself, and distributed a few. Prabhupada returned to his room, where he sat down again and was silent. Sensing that he should be left alone, the devotees excused themselves from his presence. Everyone was satisfied. Prabhupada was back, and they would have him for a while. Jivananda. After everybody left, I stayed behind to talk to him, and seeing me just kind of sitting there, he put me to work and made me clean up his room. I began to pick up paper and stuff and throw away all the boxes. So afterwards, Prabhupada said, "So you have some question?" And I said, "Yes, Swamiji, I would like to get married to Harsharani." He said, "Oh, who are you?" I said, "I am Jivananda." He said, "Oh, you have been initiated?" I said, "Yes." He said, "By me?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "That's very nice. What do you do?" I said, "Well, when I was in Santa Fe, I used to milk the cows." He said, "That is very nice." We talked some more, and then I said, "Swamiji, can I get married?" He said, "I will think about it. You can ask me again later." Chidananda. That evening, I went to his room to see him, as I felt he might be lonely. I went into his room to try to keep him company. But as soon as I got there, he started talking about Krishna. There were some Brajavasi posters of Krishna on the wall, and he would point them to and explain a little, saying, "Here is Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra." He talked, and I didn't have a chance to say anything. But he just talked about the posters on the wall. I got the feeling that we had known each other from some other time. Although this was the first time I was seeing him, yet he seemed like an old friend. He was certainly magnanimous and cordial as he sat there and talked about Krishna. I felt that if he was an old friend, then maybe I would know this to be a fact someday. But my attention span was not very long, and I really did not know very much about the life of Krishna, so I left after a short period of time. Prabhupada had a small band of disciples in San Francisco, not more than 15, but they were becoming intensely attached to him, especially since his poignant departure and now his return into their midst. Each of them wanted to engage more in Prabhupada's personal service. Although only his secretaries, Gaurasundara and Govinda Dasi, and his servant Upendra were allowed to be with him constantly. One of the devotees asked Prabhupada about feeling envy towards those devotees who seemed to be especially favored. Everyone, Prabhupada replied, from Lord Brahma and Indra down to the insignificant ant, is sometimes envious. No one wants to tolerate another person's advancement or another person's taking an exalted position. And it is a fact, Prabhupada said, that if we find a person excelling in a field or serving the spiritual master, then that person is very fortunate by Krishna's arrangement. But in the spiritual world, there is no envy over such a thing. Rather, in the spiritual world, everyone is pleased and excited to see that one person is in a more advanced position. They are enthused and gladdened by it. But in the material world, there is always competitive nature and envy. His words pacified them. If Prabhupada allowed someone to serve him, they would accept it as the arrangement of Krishna. But everyone got a chance to accompany Swamiji on his morning walks. They were open to whoever wanted to go. Usually, one or two of the brahmacharis and one or two householder couples would accompany him. They would drive Prabhupada to the park in the temple's car, a 1952 blue Ford coupe. Usually, Jayananda would drive the car. The passenger seat was broken and tilted back at a 45-degree angle to the ground. And although Prabhupada sat up straight, his chin held high, the seat slanted so much that he could only see out of the lowest part of the window. But it was only car they had, and Prabhupada never complained. He began his old routine of daily walking around Stowaway Lake in Golden Gate Park, healthy, free, and spontaneous, always in command, talking and preaching. Prabhupada seemed very happy to be back in San Francisco. And there were also new devotees who were seeing him for the first time. For about the first week on his morning walks, Prabhupada talked frequently about the existence of the soul, explaining Krishna's arguments in the Bhagavad Gita. One morning, a car was parked near where they walked, and seated in the driver's seat was a dejected looking man who sat slumped over with a long drawn, unhappy face. Day after day, this car appeared there, and the man sat unhappily while the devotees walked past in the company of Srila Prabhupada. Finally, after about a week, Prabhupada one day broke away from the group of devotees and approached the man's car. The car window was rolled up, but on seeing Prabhupada, the man rolled down the window. Prabhupada greeted him good morning. The man smiled, happy to see Prabhupada, as if he had never noticed Prabhupada and the devotees walking by day after day. Prabhupada then rejoined his disciples and continued walking. They looked back and saw the deep unhappiness in the man's face had vanished, and he appeared happier. They did not see him anymore on the morning walks. Among themselves, the devotees discussed these things or kept the impressions privately in their hearts. After a little incident like that of man sitting slumped in his car, they were even more convinced that Swamiji had the power and ability to make people happy and that he really wanted to do it. One morning, Prabhupada arrived in the park, stepped out of his car, and waited for the devotees who had come in another car to join him. Leelavati had difficulty getting out of the car because she had her baby Subhadra in a carrier on her back. When she finally did get out of the car, Prabhupada turned and laughed at her, saying, Ah, burden of affection. Yes, Swamiji, Leelavati replied. They all began to walk together along the path. So, there are two ways to carry a baby, Prabhupada said. Tapping his cane on the ground in time with his regular stride. There is the monkey way and the cat way. Do you know this? No, Swamiji, said Leelavati. Well, which way do you think is better? Prabhupada asked her. The monkey way or the cat way? She couldn't understand or imagine what he meant. Prabhupada continued. The monkey baby climbs on the back of the mother and holds on. And this is the way he travels. And the kitten is carried in the teat of the mother. So, which is better? Leelavati could still not understand which way could be better. They both sounded very difficult to her. Well, Prabhupada said, the monkey baby is very small and very weak, and he is holding on to the mother by his own strength. but the kitten is being supported by the strength of the mother. So, which way do you think is better? And then she understood the cat way is better. Yes, Prabhupada said. That is the difference between the yogi and the devotee. The yogi is trying to climb on the back of the absolute truth by his own strength, but he is very weak, so he will fall. But a devotee, he cries out for Krishna. And as he spoke about the word Krishna, Prabhupada held his arms up high and looked up at the clear morning sky. A devotee cries out for Krishna, and Krishna picks him up. Another time, a devotee picked a pretty bluish colored flower and handed it to Prabhupada. Prabhupada took it, smelled it, and then held it far away, looked at it, saying, "Oh, this is like a beautiful man without any qualifications." He then tossed it away. It had no aroma. Upendra liked to ask Swamiji questions on the morning walks. "Swamiji," Upendra asked, "what does a spiritual master or the pure devotee see as he walks through the park?" "He sees Krishna," Prabhupada replied. "He thinks that these are Krishna's trees and this is Krishna's house. He sees everything as belonging to the Supreme Lord." "But if Krishna is everywhere," Upendra pursued, "does the pure devotee see Krishna on the wall on the right and the wall on the left, or in the corner, or in between every atom? Does he see one form of Krishna merge into another? Where does one form of Krishna begin and take off from the other form?" "No, it's not like that," Prabhupada said. "Do you see my spectacles?" "Yes," said Upendra. "So whose spectacles are they?" Prabhupada asked. "They are yours." Prabhupada pointed to his shoes. "And what is that?" "Those are your shoes," said Upendra. "Yes," Prabhupada said. Similarly, a pure devotee sees Krishna like that. Everything is Krishna's. This is how he sees Krishna everywhere. Near the end of the walk, when Prabhupada had answered many questions, Upendra asked again, "Swamiji, you have spoken to us so much, but I forget most of it. If a devotee becomes Krishna conscious, will he remember everything the spiritual master says?" "Yes," Prabhupada replied. "It is all there. Not only that, when a person becomes Krishna conscious, he will be able to see his relationship with Krishna." Walking through a Golden Gate Park one day, they heard a scratching coming from a garbage can. Prabhupada went over, looked in, then pulled back in repulsion. A big city rat had somehow become trapped in the garbage can and was scratching, trying to get out. Prabhupada shook his head and said, "He's doomed." He walked on. Prabhupada commented that later the garbage men would come, see the rat, and kill him. Prabhupada was always after the philosophical and the Krishna conscious meaning. Even a seemingly ordinary comment about the rat's doom struck his disciples as deep and philosophical. They could understand their position was similar. They were trapped in the material world waiting for the end, but Prabhupada was saving them. On his return from India, after taking part in the first evening kirtan in the San Francisco temple, Prabhupada said, "You all have advanced." He saw that the devotees had become more enthusiastic and ecstatic. Guests were also dancing, rising and dancing, and that pleased his own Krishna consciousness. Each night after Kirtan, he would lecture. He was discussing the verses in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. "I am making here a series of lectures on the Krishna conscious yoga system," Prabhupada wrote to Brahmananda in the mid December of 1967, and they are tape recorded. Prabhupada thought of assembling the lectures into a small book. Indian gurus introducing self style techniques were increasingly popular in the US. Therefore, Prabhupada wanted to distinguish the standard form of yoga and meditation as taught by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita from the fast taught by the gurus who never mention Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, but rather say everyone is equal to God, and whose disciples are allowed to indulge their senses in intoxication and illicit sex. They give a mantra for a fee, Prabhupada noted, and claimed that by meditating 20 minutes in the morning, you can become God in 6 months. He was surprised that American people who are supposedly intelligent were being so easily cheated. "We have actually seen such so called yogis," Prabhupada said, "sleeping and snoring while meditating." Service begins by tongue. Prabhupada said in one of his December 1967 lectures, "By chanting this Hare Krishna and by the taste of Krishna Prasadam, the beginning process is very nice. If Prasadam is offered to you, accept it. If you become submissive and give service by these two practices, Krishna will reveal himself to you. Just like Krishna is revealing himself to Arjuna, Arjuna is a devotee, he is a friend. I am speaking to you that old system of yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Only one who has developed the service spirit with love and devotion he can understand Krishna. After the lecture, Prabhupada would continue the theme Krishna consciousness in his room. It was the same theme as on his morning walks, in his letters, or in his intimate talks with individual disciples or visitors. It was the theme of his writing and the very heartbeat of his life. When a devotee asked Prabhupada how the soul is carried from body to body, Prabhupada replied, by desire, and cited himself as an example. Just like I have come to America. Why? Because I wanted to preach. So by that desire, I was carried here. Otherwise, I have no business to come here. Chidananda. There would be three, four, or five devotees in his room, and he would just start talking. They would somehow gather in his room, and he would start talking about what he was trying to do. His talk was not directed specifically to anyone, but he was saying that this is what he was doing. He made everything very clear. He wanted to publish his books. He was trying to get a press for this back in the New York. And if he had a letter from Raya Rama in New York, he would read the letter right there. In this way, it was allaying any doubts in people's minds about what he was really going to try to do. He had his books and the temple. He was concerned about the temple and the new lunch program where we were giving out free prasadam. His concern kept everybody going. Before he came, there wasn't that much activity. But when Prabhupada came, things started bustling very fast. One night in his room on the Willard Street, Prabhupada was talking about seeing Krishna. Don't try to see him, Prabhupada said, but act in such a way that he will come and see you. Shuradasa was a blind man, yet due to his sincere chanting, "Oh Krishna, Krishna, Krishna," Krishna came to see him. So Krishna is there whether we see him or not. All we must do is to become sincere, and he will present himself whether we see him or not. Krishna hugs the cow. What does a cow know? He's a dumb animal. Is the cow as great as Arjuna? No. Yet, due to cow's sincerity to come and lick Krishna's body, Krishna says, "Oh, yes, my dear cow, come, and I shall take care of you." And Krishna gives him some sweet nectar. So, we should want Krishna to come and see us, not that you should want to see Krishna. At that time, few devotees were very well read in Prabhupada's books. They didn't know the vastness of the philosophy. Only a few books were published, and so Prabhupada in person was the real source of Krishna conscious knowledge. 18-year-old Kim used to have philosophical arguments with his atheistic father and then invariably have questions for Prabhupada at the end of lectures. He would ask so consistently that Prabhupada would turn to him and say, "Are there any questions?" Given a good question, Prabhupada might launch into another impromptu lecture. Kim's sister, who was only 16, also wanted to get initiated. "Are there offenses in the spiritual world?" she asked Prabhupada at one evening lecture. Prabhupada turned to the audience. "See," he said, "this little girl, she wants to go back to Godhead." And in the course of the answer, he said, "Krishna may kiss you." When he said that, Kim's sister blushed and everyone laughed. Upendra asked, "Swamiji, how should we feel humble?" I feel sometimes that when I try to be humble, I first think about it and then I try to be humble. But it seems artificial. This is humbleness, Prabhupada said. When we think, "Oh, I should have done it in this way," that is good because then there is always room for improvement. If you go on thinking, "Oh, I did not perform this duty so nicely, I should have done it this way," then you will improve. Our love for Krishna keeps growing as long as we think that we are not doing the most for Krishna and that we must do more. This is humbleness. If you think, "Oh, I did so wonderfully, I am such a nice and a sincere devotee," then this is not good. There will be no improvement. So, here I would stop as there are only 5 minutes to go. So, maybe we can reflect in the next few minutes and we can end the session at 9 p.m. So, in this reading, yeah, my favorite key points was how Prabhupada was teaching, living, spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the day with the devotees. And there he touched upon several aspects which are quite very, very basic in nature, like being humble. And Prabhupada clearly says that there is no there is no way ego or something can exist in the spiritual world. And in the beginning of this chapter, Prabhupada says, when you're happy on a particular day, it is Krishna's gift. So devotion is spirituality, Krishna consciousness, devotion is very sweet, and our love for Krishna actually makes us advance. So yeah, there are so many um, great one-liners from Prabhupada, and yeah, we'll continue again tomorrow. But is there something which, yeah, maybe you all wanted to add?
Hare Krishna, Babuji. We
Hare
just joined it today for the first time. I mean, we had another session also, but 8:30 session. I and my wife we joined for today. But I think, yeah, we are going to join again. And it was a very nicely explained in the reading that when Prabhupada asked that told the devotee that where is Krishna, so he says that Krishna is everywhere and everything is belongs
Yes,
to him. So this is how we should also inculcate in our life, that we should always feel.
yes, exactly. Yeah, nicely pointed out. Yeah, there are so many. I mean, each and every paragraph. I mean, there are so many key points actually,
Yeah, yeah,
which inspires us to stick to Krishna consciousness, and how simple Krishna consciousness is actually to follow.
mm, yeah, indeed. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
yeah. Thank you, Prabhu, for your feedback. Yeah, Ram Raghu Prabhu, Ratkeli Mataji, you wanna add
Yeah,
something?
yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
Mataji.
for reading. And yeah, I joined a little late, but then, yes, as said, every paragraph has so many examples and we can relate it so much. Uh,
Yes, Mataji.
and it's so simple in Prabhupada's way. And yeah, the
Yes,
examples like the cat and monkey means in finding each
yes,
the rat in the trash thing. Every example where
yes,
Prabhupada is seeing in every way Krishna is what we can take. Even I was looking for quotes. Okay, this I can post for tomorrow. I can post this for tomorrow. But then there are many quotes
yes,
in
Mataji.
this uh, for the morning quotes of Srila Prabhupada. But there are too many to have uh, quotes in this such a small half an hour session also. Yeah, this is
Yes, Mataji.
very nice. Thank you. Thank you for reading.
Yeah, thanks Mataji for the feedback. Yeah, yes. Yeah, I think in the group when the quotes are shared, yeah, many people will certainly connect.
Yeah,
And
we read every day what Mataji share. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
He takes it so simple that it's easy for us to understand and get ahead. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, rightly said. So we will continue tomorrow from where I have left with another, uh, yeah, with another speaker, and at the same time, yeah, from 8:30 to 9 p.m.
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.